We all contradict ourselves at times. Every now and then, we might even call somebody a liar when they're not a liar. We might even use the DSM-5 as an appeal to authority when we've already rejected the DSM-5 as an authority. The gentleman you see before you is named Aaron, and he was on Apologetics Live with Andrew Rappaport, and he is holding up a DSM-5 as his evidence that ADHD is not a physical disorder. So what I'd like to do is go over a few things that maybe they didn't hear the first time, and go over some misconceptions that occurred during that live YouTube. Here in just a moment, I'm going to have a video clip play for you, and it's going to be Aaron. I think he's misunderstanding me in the video clip, and then he goes on to call me a liar the rest of the show and even threaten me to pull up a video playback to use it against me. Well, Aaron, here's your video playback.
That not being able to walk is not a sin. But here's the thing. Disobedience is a sin. Disobedience is a sin. When the Bible says that children need to obey their parents,
So
and then a child doesn't obey their...
Do you spank an autistic kid?
Are we talking about autistic children?
ADHD and autism are in the exact same genetic realm. They're the same.
That is not.
It is true. Yes, it is.
Because then every child with ADHD would be put onto the autistic spectrum, and every child with autism would somehow exhibit ADHD.
If you go to my Facebook right now, I have the 20 physical exact similarities listed between ADHD and autism. All right, so what we have right there is, other than me sounding like Daffy Duck with the lisp for some reason on that audio, we've got me saying that ADHD and autism are in the exact same genetic realm, and then going on to point to 20 different physical abnormalities that overlap between ADHD and autism, which is to say that to deny ADHD is to deny autism because they are documented and diagnosed the exact same way. What Aaron heard was that I said ADHD was on the autistic spectrum, and I'm not exactly sure how he came to that conclusion or how he heard that, but he did go on the rest of the show to call me a liar and call me to task on this, and even threaten to show video playback. So I want to go ahead and play the rest of these clips, and we can go.
That rebuttal. You didn't do it, and then you casually, we can go back into the video and we can watch it. You're saying a bunch of other things, and then you just threw in the claim, I never said that ADHD was a form of autism, which was false. So you didn't answer the question. You claim to have not said the thing that was the very reason I presented the material in the first place and asked you to respond to it.
Okay, so other than the obvious mansplaining and the patronizing and the condescending tone and the talking down to me, he's also, telling me that I'm making false statements.
You made it very clear, and we had a little back and forth with you saying that ADHD is in fact in the autism spectrum. Okay. And I said that they can, you can have a person with both, but it doesn't automatically mean it's in there. And they're like, yes, it did. I provided you a source that said,
all right, so let's lay that second part to rest. You can look at everything I've got on that I've said and written about this. Like I said, all the information I'm citing and the stuff I've got on my Facebook and the stuff I've sent to all of my friends on Facebook and everything else. And I've never said that ADHD is on the autistic spectrum. So if you heard that, or if I said that, it was a mistake. So we can just let that one go.
You know what, Matt? I really appreciate you saying that, because I was going to suggest that Andrew just go back and pull the clip out for the next show, because it is definitively there. But I appreciate your willingness to admit that was a mistake. So
yeah. I mean, if I did say that, I misstated that, and it was, But I've never. That's not something I claim at all. What I claim is that the way that autism is diagnosed, from everything from the neurodevelopmental to the neurobiological to the neurochemical to the fact that it's hereditary and genetic and they've isolated the genes, all of these physical things that have to do with the synapses and the neurons and the neurotransmitters and all of these very specific physical components of autism are also true of ADHD, which is why they are exactly the same when it comes to how they're diagnosing them. And it's exactly the same when it comes to how they're proving this empirically
And-
with scientific method and with neuroimaging and brain scans and actually knowing exactly what components of the part are malfunctioning. And I mean, they've got this thing down to what you might say a science. Okay, so that was the last clip of being told that I was a liar there by Aaron. He just kept bringing this. Every time I'd get anywhere near making a point, they would do this. They would rehatch, either calling me a liar or rehatch, some misunderstanding they had, and then continue to pounce on that rather than just move on and let's discuss something productive. So that didn't happen too often. But the next clip I'm going to show you is also going to be me about to make a point, right? I start going into the physical aspects of ADHD and explaining some of the things that you see in the image that I've got provided for you here on the screen. And what they did is, as soon as I start to get close to that point, you'll watch them all rush in to come stop me from being able to talk and shutting that down and trying to change the discussion. So Andrew Rappaport comes out and he says, are you saying the DSM-5 is wrong? And essentially what he's doing, he's changing the discussion at that point. So instead of allowing it to be a discussion about the physical aspects of ADHD, he's changing it to a discussion about the DSM, which I've had told him multiple times I haven't read. My argument has no basis on the DSM-5. And, he wants me to say, I'm assuming, he wants me to say, yes, the DSM is wrong. And then this whole line of reasoning makes no sense from any one of these guys. Because first of all, they reject the DSM anyway. But they're using it as the basis to deny ADHD as a physical reality. And none of these guys, I mean, what are they? Is that their new Bible? Is the DSM-5? Like, why do these guys, on the one hand, talk about the Bible, but yet every single time I get close to trying to make the point of ADHD being a physical impairment, they pull up the DSM-5, and you've got, I think his name's Aaron. Yeah, you got Aaron. He's pulling up the DSM-5 and he's holding it up and he's reading from it. I mean, this isn't what happens when you're having a discussion about a biblical issue. You don't have to pull out the DSM-5 on a biblical issue. You pull out the Bible on a biblical issue. This is how you know you've left expository preaching and now you're entering into a realm that is extra biblical. That's why you have an extra biblical document and you're making extra biblical arguments. And what extra biblical means is that it's not from the Bible. So, all right, here's that clip. Anterior cingulate cortex, the basal ganglia is misshapen, and that is specifically to do with motor control and behavioral regulation. The corpus callosum is reduced in size, structural anomalies there, right, that have to do with hemispheric communication. The amygdala is damaged or is not the same. I've got a list of 20 different.
So Matt, are you saying that the DMS-5 is wrong? DSM? Are you saying it's wrong?
I'm saying I'm not looking at anything from the DSM-5 at all. I'm looking at specific information that has to do with the physical impairment of ADHD and autism. Wait. Can I just finish my sentence here? Okay, so that is a red herring. What Andrew Rappaport is doing there is distracting from whether or not this is a physical impairment. And he's bringing it into the realm of the DSM-5, which has absolutely nothing to do with if it's a physical impairment or not. What the DSM-5 is regarding, as far as they've explained it, is the diagnosis process. And how something is diagnosed has nothing to do with whether it's a real physical impairment or not. You would need to go into a physical type of science rather than a diagnosis, psychiatry, psychology type of thing.
it can be biased.
Let me give everyone
but
an
it's not saying that it's giving you false information. It's pulling this
man.
information.
Yeah, that's actually what it is saying. It can be biased because of the specific data it was trained on. So if I only train my AI to look at certain data, then it's only going to give me that data.
Matt,
so if you go ask AI what 1 + 1 and it says it's 2, then all of a sudden you just discredit it by ad hominem.
Matt,
When you ask
an experiment, hold on, Matt, do an experiment. I want you to type into ChatGPT to try this. ChatGPT, give me 5 reasons to vote for Joe Biden, and then say, give me 5 reasons to vote for Donald Trump. I've done this. It gave me 5 reasons to vote for Joe Biden, and for Donald Trump, it said we can't get into politics.
Let me explain something. The level of fallacies here. The one, I'm not saying that ChatGPT.
This is not a fallacy. I just gave you something you could do.
I got 3 guys.
How about you all talk at once? Listen for 1 second, would you? Okay, so here we have another example of a red herring. It's a distraction technique. It is meant to talk the whole time about ChatGPT instead of talking about whether or not ADHD is a physical impairment. And that's the only reason I was there. And, he says at the beginning of this thing, he says, I want you to have an opportunity to, speak about your views. And the very next thing he says, after he says that, is, will you articulate my view? Or what do you think our view is? So he says these two things back to back. And this is what can be so confusing to the viewer or the audience member, is because he'll put contradictory statements next to each other. That way, the people that agree with him, his followers, they'll say, I heard him say specifically that he wanted you to articulate your view. So you're lying if you say that he wasn't letting you say what you needed to say. And without catching the fact that his immediate next statement is that to articulate his view, and here's an example of that.
Like that. So, welcome to the show. I want you to be able to share your view, and if you could, I'd really be interested if you could try for you to explain what you think we're saying.
Did you catch that? Okay, so what he is doing there is he's ignoring the fact of why I'm actually there, even though I've told him why I'm there. And it started in, like I said, in this inbox conversation where I am speaking out about something that MacArthur said. This is where it was a couple of his apologetic live videos in the past. And this is something that I brought up. And I was talking about the biblical counseling movement. And I'm talking about what John MacArthur said, how he's denying that ADHD is a physical impairment. And he just, he goes straight to the defense of MacArthur. And then now, in this most recent video, the one I'm showing you clips of today, he is, denying that he has any idea about what MacArthur said. And now, he's getting plausible deniability, and he's distancing himself away from statements he had made in another video. And so anyway, okay, give me just a split second. I'm gonna play you me reinforcing to him the only reason I'm there. Well, most of my comments would be towards the statements he had made. Now, I know
MacArthur's not here.
Sure, so, but I transcribed the first 12 and a half minutes of what he said, so I can quote him verbatim on that.
Okay.
But I just want to make sure that we're clear that my disagreement is with his comments saying that ADHD is not a physical impairment and that it has no connection to a physical deficiency in the brain of any kind. So that's the actual target and focus of what I have to, my disagreement.
I'm just going to stop there and say, I can't speak to that because that's not what I heard. That's not the clip that I played. And I
can read it to you real quick. If you give me just a second, I've got it right here. Okay. So I was very clear with the exact reason that I wanted to be there and what I was speaking on and what my comments were going to be about. And I had transcribed the exact wording of it, but he still, you can see his hesitance He doesn't want to get involved in this, and but he knows that's the only reason I'm there, and he knows that's what I was talking to him in the inbox about. He knew that was my area of interest, but yet what do we end up doing? Talking about the DSM, talking about Chat GPT, talking about, everything else that he could come up with. And the issue I'm having with that is it's intentionally obfuscating what was the purpose of my presence on his show. Now, here's a clip from a previous podcast that he did. This is kind of what led up to this point.
I want to go through and just take a look, see it, some of the comments that we have, see if there's any that we want to respond to really quickly. I know that AW Pink Panther, I know I triggered him. Sorry, but I wanted to. I admit it.
Okay, so here are the first comments now that I'm going to show you in the next clip where Andrew Rappaport had agreed with MacArthur that this was not a physical issue. Okay, so he's actually defending MacArthur on this point, that it's just a emotional behavior issue. And yeah, here, check this out.
There that I have a clip somewhere down of John MacArthur at a Q&A. And John MacArthur in that Q&A had made the statement that PTSD and ADD don't exist, and then he went on to explain the experiences of PTSD and ADD, specifically PTSD. Now, I posted that clip, and there was a ton. I've never really had too many things that I tweet out, or I don't know what it is now. It's called X. I X out. Would that make sense? I don't know. Someone ask Elon Musk. Haps, I know you got his contact information. Ask him what we're supposed to call it.
Okay.
But I put out on X that thing, and granted, I will admit I put it out before going to bed while in the Philippines. So when I went to bed, it was morning time here in the States, and I woke up to 1,000 comments. That doesn't happen often on my X or tweets or whatever we call them. So
here's one.
Huh? What do you say, Randy?
There's one on the screen.
I
fully disagree with MacArthur on that.
Yeah, there we go.
So this is where Andrew Rappaport is, he's agreeing with MacArthur. He's defending MacArthur. And they're saying that this is just an experience of ADD or ADHD. And that's where I had the problem right off the bat. And so I'm in the comment section, and I'm telling him, like, no, he's denying the physical reality of this thing, and the whole biblical counseling movement does. And so that's where I'm taking issue. And so later on, now fast forward to the most recent podcast, and he acts completely clueless about this, right? This is where I call him a liar. I said, you have denied the physical reality of ADHD in the brain. And he said, no, I didn't. And this is the clip where he does it. And this is where he's backing up MacArthur, and he's defending those statements, and he's saying it's just an experience. And so he did absolutely do that. He did deny the physical reality of ADHD. And now let me show you the clip from the latest one, where I call him out on that, and he just plays innocent. So that his explicit statement is that ADHD is not connected to some mental deficiency. So I know Andrew has said several times that MacArthur didn't say that, and has repeatedly said that he didn't say that. So I just want to come out and just give the exact quote that he definitely said that.
Before you say something, Aaron, this is the problem that I have with you, Matt, because when you say you start talking about these 12 minutes, and I said I cannot speak to that because I didn't hear that part. And now you're telling me that I have I've told you the very opposite.
So right here you have him trying to dodge accountability. So he's essentially trying to, plead innocence or ignorance. I didn't know what MacArthur said in this follow-up sermon and this 12.5-minute transcription that you wrote. I didn't know anything about that. And so, but that's manipulative, because he knows that what was said most recently is the exact same thing that was said at the Costi Hen panel discussion, and it's the exact same thing MacArthur's been saying for years, and it's the exact same thing that the biblical counseling movement has been saying for years, and that these stances have never changed at all. But yet here he is acting surprised to this new information, as if it's completely foreign to him, like he had no idea. So, and that's where the issue comes up for me. It is when I feel like somebody's lying to me or manipulating me, that can cause even more frustration, and not to mention the fact that we had been sitting here having these conversations in the inboxes, in the comment section and everything else, and it's impossible for him to deny this or to play it innocent and ignorant the way he's trying to act in this moment right here. It really, that's not my beef. My beef isn't against people that admit that this is a physical reality.
But you accused us of not believing that. You accused all of us of that.
So you can tell from that clip that he's implying that he does believe that ADHD is a physical impairment of the brain. But then they go on the whole rest of the podcast trying to deny that ADHD is a physical impairment of the brain. So it is like back and forth with this guy, to the point that I got extremely frustrated. I'm calling him a liar, and I'm saying the things that I'm saying, and it's because he refuses to just come out in the open and be clear and concise and say exactly what he means, just like I can. I can come right out and say ADHD is 100% a physical impairment of the brain. And here are all the things from neuroscience and the scans and the images and all the physical correlations with autism. And this is exactly why this thing is that. But he's not doing that. He's over here a little bit, he's over there a little bit, and it's too much to go through him doing that, and then to also have him bring in his cast members, and they're doing this gang up thing on me and changing the scenario even more. It is exactly like what I said in this podcast when I said that he is pivoting like a politician, and you can't corner him on anything. And so that's what the whole issue is about.
I understand his argument. What he doesn't realize is he's making the argument that we're making and then telling us that we're believing a lie.
Okay, so there he is saying that we're making the same argument again. And so he flip-flops from saying, that he denies the physical reality of an impairment in the brain to saying he doesn't deny that there's a physical reality of an impairment in the brain. And he's flip-flopping on this issue of ADD. At one moment he's saying he agrees with me, at the next moment he's saying he doesn't agree with me, and he's been doing this the whole time since the moment I started talking to him. He's done this 1,000 times. I mean, this every single time. Then he says, now I want you to articulate my side of this argument. Tell me what we believe. How in the heck am I supposed to do that? It's like, it's so surreal. And then to get the ambush from these guys. And I just hope at least maybe some people can understand my frustrations here, that, people are calling me a liar. Andrew Rappaport's every 5 seconds, he's on a different side of this equation. And the real question really is, Andrew Rappaport, what do you really believe? Instead of asking everyone else to articulate your side for you and explain what you believe after you've done all of this back and forth on the issue, how about you come out and make an official stance and say, I either 100% believe that this is a physical impairment in the brain and that's what ADHD is, or you need to come out and say, I 100% don't believe that this is a physical impairment in the brain when it comes to ADHD. It's one or the other. You either do or you don't. But you can't both disagree with me and agree with me. You can't go on a podcast one day saying that it's just an experience and emotion and then come out the next day and say that we're making the same. Oh my goodness. It's so interesting. We're on the discussion of brain damage, and I feel like I'm getting brain damage trying to figure out what Andrew Rappaport really believes on this issue. And then he always brings in, the other people to come in and fight the battles and throw them in the middle and get everything even more confused. And I'm just done with the whole mess.